What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Throwing Tantrums. This is the solo audition. This is where I get to interview and pry and interrogate some of the dancers in the dance company. Because for the most part, a lot of us is like we're all getting an opportunity to like share our opinions, and you guys get to know everyone. But I kind of want to I want to use these episodes for you to get to know the dancers individually, share their story and whatnot, get to know everyone in the company beyond the dance. Before we get into it, let's cue the intro. All right. Okay. Welcome back to Throwing Tantrums. I'm Emeroy, the director of Throwing Tantrums, and today we're featuring one of our dancers, James. JB Detman. Did I say that right? I feel like I've never said your last name before.
No, you said it right.
Okay, Detman. Cool. So this is her first podcast. So be kind, rewind, and yeah, I'm gonna let her take the floor. Give the crowd a little bit of the origin story of how you got into dance. Your history of dancing, crews you're in, whatnot.
Okay. Well, hello. Let's see. When I was a kid, my mom was always throwing me into a bunch of random little physical activity classes. So whether it be like gymnastics or karate, but I took a lot of dance classes. It was never like a steady thing. So I could never say like I fully committed to it before. And then I completely stopped. But when I got into high school and into my sophomore year, I went to my first homecoming game and I saw the first homecoming halftime show. And I saw one of my friends and a few of my future friends actually perform in the middle of the field, and I felt so inspired. So I just didn't stop searching for that team and to find something so that I can try to figure out how to do that.
Oh, so they weren't part of the school program? They were like a separate group outside of the school that was just invited to perform?
It was kind of it kind of developed into the school's team itself once we got our permanent instructor, but it started off as like an after school program, and it wasn't technically a dance team, but they started making it into a team themselves kind of thing.
That sounds familiar.
It was really cute.
Yeah. That's cool. Because I remember I hate saying this, back in my day, because Jamie is one of the younger dancers in the crew. She hasn't gotten to perform with us yet because originally, just to give you guys context, and those for you listening, Temper Tantrum originally started off as a project, but the entire, I'd say 80% of the company of the project wanted it to be an official thing. So I figured, okay, cool. If it is going to be a thing, I might as well invite the people who weren't able to do it originally to continue being a part of it. So yeah, and Jamie, it helps that I've trained Jamie prior, so that way I'm not starting from the ground up in a sense. So I was kind of particular certain technique I was looking for, because a lot of the stuff we do is the street style called locking. In case you guys don't know what that is, look it up. But yeah, going back to the original story, when I was younger, because when you said you were inspired by the dancers you saw in the halftime show, I felt the same way when I first saw the first all-male dance team in Glendale. But the thing is, it wasn't cool for dudes to dance back then. If you're a dude that dances, you're gay. Oh, you dance, bro? Are you gay? Are you a the F word? So it's and it wasn't cool. And I quit dancing in 6th grade because I was called the F word. I was practicing I was practicing pacing in 6th grade because I saw NSYNC do it. And but yeah. So because when you said inspired, I felt inspired, but it became into kind of hate in a sense. Because one of the favorite messages I heard from a friend is haters are confused admirers, because because when you see greatness or you feel when you see someone doing something amazing, it's a reminder to themselves of what they could be, but they're not acknowledging it. So it's they're denying that part of themselves. Oh, I want to be a dancer, but I'm getting judged for being a dancer, so fuck dancing. The whole school was oh, and I'm fucking respect. They're gonna take that fucking sitting down.
That's what got you.
Yeah. So what teams are you in currently, or what teams have you danced with?
I've danced with quite a few teams. When I started out with Team LA, because Bliss was my instructor from high school, and he took me into his professional team. I learned so much from him. Very, very grateful. From
Bliss is
then,
great.
oh yeah, I from then I went on to Project Vavad, and then Grits and Gravy, and then right now I am on Vandals solely.
What do you feel like because you're it sounds like you're heavily involved with I'd say the LA dance scene community right now. Like,
Mhm.
what do you feel like the main lessons you've noticed from each team? Like, because each team vibes differently, as you've seen. Like,
Yeah.
maybe not the lesson, but what's the pattern you kind of see? I'm just curious.
The pattern I've kind of seen is that it really depends on what each person in the team wants out of dance itself. It depends on if each person wants to pursue it professionally, if they're doing it just to make them happy, if they're doing it to compete, if they're doing it just to perform.
Mm,
It's important that everybody at least knows what everybody wants
yeah,
so that everybody has the same expectations.
yeah, that's true. Because not everyone is aiming to be industry. Some people are just trying to
Yeah,
do it because it's therapeutic for them.
exactly.
When you joined your first team, I'd say in high school, like what compelled you to keep going beyond it?
What compelled me to keep going beyond it was how it made me feel. Like physically I felt really good about myself because I was like, I took the physical education classes when I was in high school, and I
I
didn't like it. So I didn't. It was
sat down whenever there was basketball. I'm like,
Yeah. I didn't. I'm like 5 feet tall. I don't like to do sports. I don't like to run, all that kind of stuff. But dance was something where I could still be physically active and not think about how much I hate it.
that's true.
um, I I told this to my friends when they asked me why I kept going as well. I told them that dance is one of the things I know I'm not the best at, but one of the only things that I really care to get better at. Um,
Mm,
that like it doesn't matter how good I am at it. It matters how I feel about it.
yeah.
Um, and it's always made me happy, and it hasn't stopped making me happy. So
No, that's really good. Yeah, that's amazing. Because yeah, I have a lot of friends. Man, I just look at them. I look back at my experience of them. They were at the levels that I aspired to be at. Like they were beasts, and I thought they could be like, man, they could be backup dancers, but like you said, everyone has like not everyone aspires to be at that professional level, but it's like it's crazy how people like not divulge. Is it divulge? But yeah, either way, they go a different path. Maybe it's the curse of being talented because you get
yeah.
tired of what you're good at and you're looking for something else that challenges you. Because when I joined my high school dance team, I don't think I picked up choreo, but I certainly don't think I was the best.
Hmm.
So I think and there was like I guess a chip on my shoulder that I wanted to like keep going and like I'm not at their level yet, so I just keep putting in the work. It sounded like you kind of like judged you in a sense that you kept going. Like these are past
No,
friends.
not necessarily judge, but they were just curious to see what my mindset behind it was, because they knew I wasn't like they knew how I felt about myself not being the best. They knew that I was aware of it in a way.
Mm,
So they were like, "Why do you keep doing it then? If
mm.
you feel so bad?" I was like, "Well, I don't feel bad." It's interesting seeing how far I've come, because when I started in high school, the administrators literally used to call me two left feet because I sucked so bad at
Dude,
dancing.
this is an example right here. Like you're an example. How old were you when you started?
Uh, 15, 14 maybe.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is an example of like because I get this a question I get on my YouTube comments, my DMs. They ask like, is 13 too old, 15, 16, 18, 21 too old to start dancing?
No, it's
And even
not.
with no experience, and the fact that you said you had two left feet and you are where you are now, it's like, damn, you just gotta be consistent. You just reminded me like of one of my other friends. Well, not friends anymore because we fell out of touch. But he was one of the worst. I questioned if he should be on the team because he was like literally he danced so small. Like I don't know if like we tell us to extend our moves. Like he danced very small. Obviously, it was his first performance, but I was like, whoa, but now he's fucking doing carnival. Well, not now because of the COVID-19, but he was doing cruises, traveling. He can kick my ass and dance.
Insane.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Like he's became like a really good jazz and contemporary dancer.
Wow.
So and he started in high school, 14. Yeah. So I mean, how speaking of COVID, like how has that affected you overall? Whether life,
Oh,
dance life.
man. It's been rough, honestly. It's hard to get people to understand this, I guess, in my point of view, but it's really been difficult for me to dance sometimes, or most of the time, because I would get so much of my energy from the people around me and just feeding off them, loving to be there and having all this happiness and joy, and me just feeding off of it because I'm very empathic, I guess.
Mhm.
It's been so difficult to be by myself and try and dance. Like I've taken a few classes, I've done a free freestyle sessions, and I eventually look around and I'm like, why am I doing this? It's difficult. It's really difficult, and it sucks because all I want to do is get better, but it's hard to utilize all this time that I have.
Yeah, I hear you. So it's kind of like that energy kind of fuels you in a sense.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's interesting because it would have been interesting having Amanda shared a similar sentiment about having a hard time practicing at home until she found something that kind of, I guess, helped her break through in practicing by herself. So it would have been super interesting having you two talk together in the podcast. So because this is why I love the group. And if it's your first time hopping on, this is actually Jamie's first time on the podcast. She's normally too good to hang out with the rest of the group. It's because
No.
it's because we're old. She's like, if you're over 25, I'm done with you guys.
I promise I'm just working a lot.
Yeah, she's just working on getting away from the over the 25-year-old people. But yeah, so because one of the reasons I love the group podcast is like the conversations that happen in the inside. Man, the last podcast we were in, Diego was on fire. In terms of the classes, like, were you excited when you were first taking the online classes, or were you just like, because everyone's teaching for free?
I was so excited. I was so excited taking the online classes. Like at the beginning of the quarantine, I went and stayed with my mom for the first few months until everything started opening back up and I went back to work. It made me so excited, and it made her excited because she doesn't really get to see me dance because she lives so far away. And
Mm,
so she saw me like in the kitchen sometimes taking classes because that's the only place with like a hard floor rather
yeah.
than a carpet. Um, and it made us both really happy. And then it was just like, man, why am I in the kitchen taking a free class online? Yeah, it
Uh,
was just, it was weighing on me.
yeah, no, it takes a minute to find something. Because when I'm practicing my own breaking stuff, I'm like, when's the next performance? But then in my head, the main thing, what's helping me at least, and you're cool right now because you're young, but for me is like I'm older, so I want to make sure that I'm like in shape when I get back into the rehearsal, and like I don't lose any specific moves. But now that dancing is super limited, rehearsals are super limited. Like, how's the experience of quarantine or everything in general so far? Because we'll start off with COVID. How's that affected you in your dance life and like activity? Going from all these shows 1 second, and we had like you in the temper tantrum meeting. I had a fucking year lined up for us.
We were ready.
Like we were like cool, and then what? February, March, April, like. Nope,
Just
no video
kidding.
shoots, no gigs. Like I was looking at our calendar, like, oh, we're supposed to be performing today. Oh, this is tech rehearsal. No, nope. How's everything been for you, like in quarantine life,
Well,
COVID life?
it's been hard to stay active. I started doing yoga, and I've been like
Nice.
falling in and out of doing that, so it's not like consistent. I learned how to skate, so I've been going from place to place with that, and
Sick. I was actually just skating before this to like, it's nice to just like go around the neighborhood because I have like a small hill, so just
mhm.
like get that little bit of adrenaline.
Yeah, I have a bike lane near me, and so there's a bunch of like random hills on it, and so it's just really nice to learn at least. Yeah, I'm really thankful for learning how to skate. I've wanted to do that for a while.
Sick.
Um, it's difficult. I'm not used to staying like in my own little space very much anymore because I'm used to like being on my feet and moving around and going from like job to job or rehearsal to job or whatever.
Yeah.
And now it's like I sit down sometimes like, what else am I supposed to do today? It's like 4 and I finished everything I needed to do. I feel so unproductive.
House is clean.
Exactly.
Like, well, yeah, I hear you on here. Oh, not me, but like my house is a mess. But work stuff is different. I saw you at some protests. At one of the protests. Like, how's in regards to BLM? Because the other members of Temper Tantrum have been active about it, sharing their perspectives on it. How's everything? Well, first, what was your experience with the protest?
Um,
Did you get shot
well, no, not this time.
at?
It's been a little rough. I guess I'll start from the beginning. When I first heard about George Floyd, at least, moving into this wave of the Black Lives Matter movement, my mom was telling me about it over the phone because I don't watch the news. I read about whatever I guess is important, or my mom tells me, because
Cliff notes.
the news is upsetting.
There's a certain narrative they push.
Yeah, exactly. So she was telling me about it, and I said, it happened again. I'm not surprised. I was like, okay, what else is new?
Yeah, it's sad that it's
just
getting to
happened a
that
couple
point.
weeks ago. It's never new. I've grown up with it my entire life. I have cousins who sadly this has happened to them, and so it's very prevalent in my life. And it was a little difficult. My mom told me she was literally not going to talk to me ever again if I went to a protest. She, of course, said she was kidding and she would just be really upset. But she was like, do not go to a goddamn protest. I was like, okay, I won't. And I turned off my location and went. I went to 2 in that day. And my entire mindset is that, yeah, everybody is saying all these things. Everybody is trying to do all of their best and everything, but nothing's going to change. And everybody has been telling me, like, no, this feels different. The younger generation is moving forward so much. I'm like, yeah, but but we're not getting anything that we're asking for in the first place. Do you really think something's going to change? Yeah, we're all speaking up and everything, but nothing's going to change. Everybody's just aware of it, and I think things can change, but that's only if, I don't know, that's if a miracle happens, I guess. Like, you're even hearing about it on the news, even more and more things are just coming up and, rising to the surface that we should have known about for years upon years, or that is just happening that should have been stopped years and years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's been upsetting. It's been tough to be on my phone at all, honestly.
Yeah, it's hard because there's a lot of, I feel like, posturing, and a lot of, like, they're doing everything that no one's asking for.
Exactly.
It's
no one's asking for you to spray paint Black Lives Matter on the streets. Who cares?
Yeah, like
we know.
And it's even gotten worse. Like, in the time we're recording, this whole like secret police happening in Portland. So it's I know people have different views, and you can tell where we are, and whatever you believe, but yeah, it's crazy. I do agree that protesting does put pressure on the people in office, because then but it's also disappointing in how long it's taking. But also keeping in mind, it's a big machine of people. It takes forever just to make change, but people have made like quick changes. I can't draw any examples right now, but I know, like, outside of the U.S., I think it was in the U.K. or maybe Australia or New Zealand, like the first massacre that happened with guns, they immediately banned guns.
Yeah, I believe it was either Australia or New Zealand. I think I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so it confuses me why it takes so long. I don't work in politics. I know I know a lot of what's happening, because if the leadership it's the job of the leaders in general to set the tone of what's happening, and if the leaders aren't setting the tone that's beneficial for anyone, this is kind of what we have. Like people, whether it's like BLM or for people who are just I'm just gonna go, I don't want to sound like I'm siding with them, even with the protesters for the no masks. Like there's always gonna be, not every decision the leader is gonna make is gonna be beneficial, but I
It
don't know
should
where
at
I'm
least
going.
be morally correct.
Yeah, but even with that, moral is so gray. Sorry, I didn't mean to point the finger at you, but like, because then what define moral? Like, was it Christian morals? Is it
Human rights,
yeah,
I would say.
like
Human rights. Don't let us
it's
die.
so because then I hate that I'm playing devil's advocate because it's so much in my nature. But like, what about abortion and all that stuff? I don't want to get into it, but like, it's just like me thinking of like, what are these what will the other not objective other perspectives say about all that? But like, have you seen? I think there are a lot of people teams are addressing it. The whole sexual harassment thing that's happening with between all the dance teams.
Like, have I heard about it
Yeah.
in general? Yeah. It's really upsetting because Vandals started finally like having a social distance, not a rehearsal at all, but kind of just having members or even people outside of the team just teach so that we can feel, whole again, like a dance family.
Yeah.
And we were finally, we were wearing the masks and being socially distant and everything. And we were just trying to have a good time again. And then when everything started servicing, they were like, we can't dance anymore. We can't ignore what's going on. We can't meet like nothing's happening. We have to be active. So we're going to cut off all future classes and sessions that we were going to have. And I think that was such a really good decision. It just makes me personally upset because I was so excited, but that's just my own problems. I think it was definitely a right decision to do.
Yeah, especially since we're going through lockdown 2.0 again.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it was looking pretty optimistic.
Yeah, I think we were all a little too optimistic.
What's one performance that you were looking forward to this year?
I was looking forward to. I was really looking forward to USJ originally, before everything happened with USJ.
Yo, you just that everything happened. He disappeared. What happened? You just reminded me of him. Like, wait, the pandemic happened. Everyone forgot about USJ. Holy shit! Was that ever resolved?
I don't know.
Whoa. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah. I was really, really excited for that.
Dude, that's fucking crazy. Okay, just to give you guys like, some context, those of you guys listening, and why I just like went off right now is because USJ is called Urban Street Jam, which was one of like the more community type events. It's similar, I'd say, like for lack of a better saying, the lower rate version of World of Dance, because I know they have because they try to have their own battles and also choreography competition. What happened recently was, I think the owner, this is just from my understanding, the owner just disappeared and took everyone's money, and everyone was on a witch hunt trying to get him. Like, where did he steal this money, or we want a refund? So, and as far as I know, it's unresolved because the pandemic happened. How would you feel if this whole thing lasted for the rest of the year?
Not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it lasts into the next year. Honestly, with how things have been taken care of so far, I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
In fact, it's just getting worse.
We're number one.
I just have to figure it out, huh?
Yeah. We're number one.
We're number one in something.
This is something I just get curious about, and I just randomly ask people sometimes. Like, on the days that are tough, like what's the self-talk like for you?
What do you mean?
Like, when it's tough, like, how do you get through? Like, what do you tell yourself to get through the day?
That's a good question. I kind of just tell myself, just go through it, just get through it. I'm trying to look forward to things a lot, because that's what got me through before the whole pandemic started happening. Was that I had a lot of things I would just look forward to in my schedule and in my life. So I started trying to create more things to look forward to within the week and try and schedule things that make me happy.
That
Just, yeah, just to
that,
distract myself.
that's interesting because a lot of people, uh, I think it's one of the psychology tips that I read, like, is that what helps people get through jobs they hate is they have something to look forward to. Because
Mhm.
then, because then it's like, okay, one more day, just to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I made it kind of what is the word? Not a well, almost a routine that after work, like I'll skate home on the bike lane because that way I could just take one bus and not be like inside a crowded space with people.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's safer for me, kind of, and then I get to skate and I get the sun and everything. So I try and look forward to that and do that once a day.
A question that we kind of asked in the previous Temper Tantrum group podcast. What we all shared our like self care routines or self methods of self care. What are you doing right now? Because quarantine is like we're not meant to be isolated. We're also not meant to be in closed spaces. We're social creatures. So like people were sharing their self care routines. What's yours?
Um, I built 2 Lego sets. Um,
Sick.
I started playing more video games. I almost got 100% in Lego Star Wars. I'm
Oh,
at like
sick.
98.9. I started drawing.
Nice.
Yeah, and just getting more into the visual art that I used to do. Um,
What type of visual art?
I I mean I used to do a lot of photography, so I started taking more pictures of, stuff that I think is beautiful. I started drawing more and trying to just find my own style. I started using like pencils and also ink pens. And I
Nice.
started trying to do watercolor. It's a little difficult for me than
Oh
I expected.
man.
It's so fun. I'm just not the best at it, but
Yeah, watercolor is a tough medium.
it really is. It's a little difficult, and there's so many different ways that you can use it, I guess. So I'm just trying to figure out what's right for me. Remember to take your vitamins. I learned how to make a bunch of different coffees at home,
So
not like at Starbucks or anything.
coffee. Oh, that's right, because you're a barista.
Yeah.
Shit. I was like, wait, you know what different coffee is? Because I just fucking get my Folgers and that's it. I was like,
Yeah, it's been nice. I've been experimenting with different brands. I fixed up the outside space of my apartment now so I can like sit outside, and my mom is really into trying to help me out with that because I have Home Depot across the street too.
oh yeah, you got a nice location for kind of like renovating your own spot.
Yeah, I'm really trying. Just trying to make my space as happy as I can, and try and have it give me as much good energy as I can.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. That's dope. That you're like kind of rediscovering things that you were into before, like the whole photography and painting and the creative side. Because I feel like since there's going outside rehearsals, going out in general is off limits. I feel like it's made a lot of people have to look within to kind of discover things that outside of bars and rehearsals to like make them happy in a different way. Like Chris, and that's what like
Mhm.
the common thing I'm seeing is like people are more using this opportunity to educate themselves more, which is great because we need more smart people speaking up and not any more ignorance being spewed out.
Yeah. Speaking of education, I signed up back for my classes this semester, so since everything is at home, I'll be able to do it online, hopefully.
Nice. Oh yeah. If you guys don't know, Jamie's a dropout. She failed school. She listened to my advice of dropping it. No, she's a student. Don't disclose where you're at, but that's good because I know that when prior to the podcast, long time ago, we talked about like how juggling going to work and school, physically going to school was hard, and I can and rehearsals. So I can only imagine how exhausted you are trying to juggle all these things. So like how yeah, like not a lot of people actually are happy about school being online, but it sounds like you're enjoying school being online.
I'm gonna see. Online classes have never usually been the best for me, but I think because it's the only thing I got, I think I'll be able to manage. At least I'm hoping.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely saves you gas, saves
Yeah,
you or time in terms of traveling because now you just can do it. You can do it at home.
yeah, exactly. And that took out like a lot of my day before. That was a big old problem. So I think it'll work out.
Yeah. For um for the other teams that you're on, like how are they kind of I think the big challenge for me when the quarantine first happened was trying to keep well first take care of my company, but I kind of like I emailed you guys like I was quiet for a while because I was handling all that. But all these other teams are doing their best to keep their teams active with each other. So what's happening with the other teams that you're on right now to stay connected, so to speak?
Really happy about that actually. Vandals never really got out of touch with each other ever since like it started. Well, even before it started, we had a lot of people who, played video games on their computers and everything. So they utilized the Discord channel, like, so they can do that together.
Nice.
And so they just kind of started inviting everybody else. And we all started making our other games or just hanging out to talk or literally just having each other on Zoom and going about our day just to be like within each other's company. Cool. And such like that. Yeah, it's been really nice. We've had our public social distancing boba trips and whatever else, as much as we can. There's never really like a scheduled thing like every week we're gonna do this like it's a rehearsal. It's more so just so that we know we're all there for each other.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just
family.
I was just playing a game called Dauntless with Diego last night. So it's a great game. So that's really cool that you guys are doing some stuff outside of it because I know like trying to do rehearsals in this kind of time, it's like it's different. Like the energy of like having a dance when there's nothing to prepare for is hard. And I know those who are driven in a sense to continue improving their craft, it makes sense because their individual agenda is that they want to get better. But like as a team agenda, like, it depends on, I'd say a lot of things, I guess. Because at least for me in terms of temper tantrum, my goal isn't to like try to train you guys in any sense of like, I'm not trying to train you guys to be breakers or all that. If anything, I'd much rather do that in person so I can fix your technique and also insult you at the same time.
Nice.
But like I can't do I mean I do that. I do have tutorials online, but I prefer doing the drills that I have in mind, the drills in person. So like I said, the energy. What's your biggest fear about 2020 and what's your biggest hope to coming out of it?
Biggest fear and biggest hope. My biggest fear is
second term.
What?
Second term.
Yeah. that might literally be my biggest fear. Because I have no hope for the US. I've joked with my mom about moving out of country if that happens again.
I don't blame you, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. My biggest hope, I guess, is that the U.S. actually learns from its people, I guess, and that the quality of life kind of gets fixed at least a little bit. Because even just a small improvement can be nice.
Yeah, I think we're seeing like steps towards that. It's not at the speed we want. Like they did do take out I don't know how many $1 billion from the police in LA to put it into the communities, which is a good start. I know we're demanding more.
Much of it.
But just like for me, because I love history, like I'm hopeful that things turn out okay. Because one, if humans were really assholes and shit, we would have killed each other and nuked each other already, and there would be all out. It would be the Wild West. But it went from like the Wild West to some sort of modern society where certain lines we don't cross. It's not perfect, but history shows that we get out of it. Like even though we're kind of going through a repeat of the civil rights movement, we also went through 2 world wars. So yeah, we kind of repeated itself. So, but
Almost there with three. Almost three.
almost beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
So
Everybody forgot about that.
yeah, oh yeah, fuck. It was like one event after the other. It's just that's what I find is fine. I'm finding interesting because it's like so stacked, and then like I have been I considered this year in 2000 in the beginning of the year like this is going to be the year to amplify, amplify the company and all that stuff. But in reality, like there's a saying that goes, when man plans, God laughs. So because it's like, because everyone's plans. I remember in 2019, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, 2020 gonna be lit." Fucking Halloween is on a Saturday. Everything was on a
Everything.
Saturday.
Everything was perfect.
Like it was like the stars aligned, but the stars aligned for something else. So, and I think it was a disruption, and they call it. People were saying 2020 vision and all that. I think it was more like not so much like their vision for the future, but to give us vision to the ugliness that needs to be fixed first
Mm-hmm.
before, so we can move forward. Because otherwise, it's almost like I always say this, like an abusive relationship in a sense, like people are experiencing. It's like they can only take so much and some people before the people lash out and fire back. And I feel like a lot of people are doing that, and I don't know if you're witnessing this. Oh no, you're not active on Facebook. Maybe I don't know if you see it on Instagram at all, but do you see any of your friends like kind of being torn apart by different perspectives, like BLM versus all lives matter, mask, no mask? Are you witnessing that?
Yeah, a little bit. Friends and even family members kind of having such drastically different opinions, and it's been really interesting learning about people a lot, to say the least. But it's not so much of what their opinion is whether or not they decide to act on it in such a way. Like, yeah, you can have your difference of opinion, but if if you don't like to wear a mask, yeah, but you're still gonna wear one when you go out, right? That kind of thing. It's not so much what opinion they have as what they do with it, I guess.
Actions speaking louder than words, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole sentiment of people are saying like, I'm not gonna live in fear, but then bitch, we fucking wear seatbelts. Are you living in fear? You stop at a red light. Are you living in fear?
No.
Like, yeah. Like, I don't know if you saw the litmus test of like the shopping cart theory. Like this one is the shopping cart theory is like it's supposed to show how well a person can self-govern themselves. Like if no one's watching, like knowing if no one's gonna punish them if they did the wrong thing, or if no one's gonna praise them if they did the good thing. So you can tell what kind of person is, like what kind of person a person is, if they put the shopping cart away.
Interesting.
Because
Yeah.
because then they have the ability just to do the right thing, even though they don't get the reward for it.
Yeah.
Or you're just an asshole and just fucking leaves it in a parking spot and yeah.
It's like they'll come get it. Like, yeah, I guess, but I mean.
Yeah. In terms of dance, like I'm curious. Like, have you ever thought of doing your own choreography? You have, right? I've seen you like share your own stuff. Have you?
Yeah. It's a little difficult. I try so hard to make my own choreography sometimes, and I don't know if it's just me getting in my head, but it's so hard for me to see choreo, I guess, on myself or on one person. Because when I listen to a song and I can imagine something to it, I imagine a whole piece to it. I imagine like a whole body of movement rather than like just myself. So I think that makes it really hard for me to make my own kind of thing. And I've just recently started realizing that. So I need to try and break out of that. I got some really good advice that I should consider making choreo to the pieces that I think I'm not good enough for yet. Because if I keep on waiting for myself to be good enough to make a piece to those songs, then I'm just going to keep on waiting.
Exactly. I agree 100%. I think I like that, how you envision that, because it's like, it's the way you do it. It's like, I would say lean in, because the way when I choreograph, I always envision a big group of people. Like, whether it's, locking or breaking, it's because I'm always choreographing for the stage. So like, I'd say lean in on that. I definitely agree that just do it.
Yeah, that's been the census of everybody I've been asking about for just ways to get through the mental block, I guess.
You know what excites like me and like the younger dancers like you, Diego, I think Marie, and all the other young Rosie, is that I feel like Brandon and Crystal can probably share the same sentiments that you guys don't see the amount of potential that we see in you guys yet. It's like it's so you guys have it. It's like just do it. It's yeah, if fucking Shia LaBeouf was here, like he'd fuck because because you guys because one you have the youth on your side, and two you have the same passion that Brandon and I did and Crystal did when we were younger, but we didn't exactly have like I don't know, I can't speak for them, but I didn't exactly have someone telling me like kind of guiding me in a sense. So I was kind of always like, am I doing the right thing? Am I good enough at this? So like, but um, I think you guys have a shit ton of potential that I'm super excited to see because it's gonna take time. Will what it'll become when you guys are our age. Oh, it's gonna be sick if you guys stick with it. Because who knows, you guys might lose interest and or you guys might move out of the country. But this is the kind of I get this sort of excitement when I see like someone do something that lights them up, and I'm like, oh, you can be like so much more. You've just like it's a certain fire that I can see. I don't know. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the next Temper Tantrum project, I have. Are you down to do it?
I think so.
I'm calling you out right now on the podcast.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Challenge yourself. Let's do it.
Well, this one, okay, I haven't shared it yet because I'm trying to give myself time to edit all this other podcast stuff. I'm letting you know, I'll probably send it by next week, but it's gonna be I haven't given the proper title yet, but I'm gonna call it item for now, and you have to freestyle with a personal item that means a lot to you.
Ooh, that's sick.
So and then you can write or you can narrate about like this is important to me and blah blah blah, or you can tell us in the story. Because then it's like I feel like there's a lot of people kind of trying to encourage us about masks, and that we're gonna get through it. Also, there's also plenty of negative shit happening already. I kind of want to I want to hear everyone's kind of story, and I want us to continue making content and kind of building up the whole temper tantrum repertoire while there's nothing happening. Because fuck. And then the underlying kind of because one you'll get to share a personal story, and two we can share that we can dance with products.
Yeah.
So yeah, like oh, you can dance with a picture frame, cool. You can dance with a mug. If you were to if you were to travel out of the country, where would you go?
Germany. I think I have family there. And if I went to school to be if I went to medical school, it could be free. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you're going to school for now?
No.
What are you going to school for now then?
I'm majoring in kinesiology. I don't really plan on going into going for like more than a bachelor's degree, honestly. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what I could do with it with my bachelor's degree, because mainly I don't like how much college costs.
Yeah, it's expensive. You hear me all the time. They tell everyone that's in college to fucking drop out. It is expensive, but it's also, I'm not gonna lie. It does give people the employment advantage when they see you have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you're 22. Would you be considered Gen Z?
That's a really good question, Emroy. That's an age-old question I've been wondering myself. I've picked up the tendencies. I've picked up the tendencies from millennials, but the mindset of a Gen Z.
I feel like it because the Gen Z is fucking badass. Like the K-pop stands, fucking up to White Lives. I forget. I think White Lives Matter or something like that, or Blue Lives Matter. I forgot what they did. Something on Twitter. And then the whole Donald Trump rally, I'm like, geez, these kids.
That was good.
Yeah, these kids are vocal, and the thing about that too is like these kids are vocal in the sense of like they're not afraid to step up to their parents if their parents are saying something obviously racist. Like this is the first generation in a long time that can parent the parent. so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Or that. Well, yeah. I think it has a lot to do with the whole internet and social media thing, how prevalent it is in the Gen Z life, because all the information is just going everywhere. So everybody knows so much more than what they
Yeah.
would have when I was a kid, and like there was a bunch of other protests going on at the time. I can't necessarily remember exactly what the names of each movement were, but I didn't know anything about the protests. I just thought that people were going crazy and that it was unsafe and all that, people were going manic. But
You went
learning now
to
what I know,
you went to
it,
protests when you were a kid?
no, I always just saw it on the news.
Oh, okay.
And I just thought people were manic and just going and tearing things apart just to do it. But now I know better.
Yeah, it's different like, when you're in it versus just being someone hearing it from the news.
Yeah.
Have you heard people like, because you were at the protest, have you heard people criticize it, and have you like tried to engage in conversation about that?
Me personally, or just like at the protest?
You personally, like people saying it online, because I've had try to stay away from Facebook arguments, but people are saying, "Oh, look at these people trying to." This is earlier when looters and all that stuff and rioters were there. Like, oh,
Mhm.
they're using the protests just to loot and riot, and then, but you're not there. Like, have you had those Have you had to have those conversations?
Yeah, I've definitely had to have those conversations, and a lot with like my other side of my other half of the family. It's been interesting trying to get them to see my point of view or just a different point of view. And eventually I guess just kind of had to let them go about what they were doing, because it was just going one ear out the other. They're not going to listen. They're not going to change their mind or anything. What matters is what I do about it, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
but when people are set in their ways, that's the thing with adults when they get set in their ways. So I don't know why. I don't know if it's about just this generation, this part of the world, or society in general. The older people have a hard time giving the youth actual credibility of like for what they're saying or weight. I feel like the millennials are listening to, looking at Gen Z and kind of listening, but we're also kind of judging them for TikTok dances. So,
well, I mean,
but
yeah,
every generation is gonna judge one another.
you don't have to love everything, but
Yeah. Are you on TikTok, by the way?
yeah, but I don't do any of the dances. I just kind of, I'm just kind of on there to
To
make me
lurk.
happy. To lurk, yeah.
uh,
uh,
for this is one of my favorite questions. Like, what kind of advice would you give to a dancer who's first starting out? Like similar to you, like 2 left feet, and they're not sure where to go. Like, what the fuck do I do? What would you say to them?
you're gonna suck and you're gonna hate it, but eventually you won't. Eventually you're gonna see that you don't suck.
I love that. How long? Uh, How often were you practicing, and how long did you feel like you started seeing a noticeable growth?
I always feel like I'm stuck in one position, and then I go through a period of growth, and then I kind of stop there and then go through it again. And each little time has been really interesting, seeing like who I previously was before. I think the recent one that I had was this past year, and it's made me learn a lot about like what I want and how to go about a lot of things, and basically taught me to do this for myself and not for anybody else.
Mm.
And it's been really interesting, because then during this whole quarantine I was able to look back at all my old videos that I've had ever since my first performance in high school, and I was like, oh yeah. I'm definitely a lot better. Yeah, I can tell that I've grown. Yeah. It's been so bad.
Oh, since we're talking about memories, what was your most embarrassing dance memory?
There's so many.
Starting.
Starting. Ooh, man, what was the worst one? I guess this was just as my group. I was embarrassed for everybody. This was just a really prevalent one that I always think about. It was one of my own halftime shows at the high school. The music wasn't loud enough, and we were at the edge of the field, and we had
Oh,
to enter into the middle and then break out into the choreo. We couldn't hear any of the music, so we started at a completely different time, and it was so bad. We literally stopped and looked around at each other for like a cool 30 seconds. We were like, "What are we supposed to do?" And then we
yeah.
started hearing the music. It was so bad. It was so embarrassing.
I I think I performed on the field once. I remember I can empathize because it's like the audio is going towards the audience, not you.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's like,
so
no, I need it.
yeah, if I felt the same when Lavad did the Clipper show,
Yeah.
like when we you did that, right?
Uh-huh.
Like um I missed my cue during the tech run through because I couldn't hear shit.
I don't blame you.
I know you're only what 5 years removed from high school. Like what kind of advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
Um, don't be afraid to do something just because you don't think you look good enough doing it.
Mm,
Um, and don't think you're gonna look exactly like somebody else when you're doing something. You know, that's really vague, but you're gonna make every movement your own. So don't worry about being completely perfect with another person.
yeah, it sounds like not comparing yourself. So like a lot of people definitely get stuck in the comparison trap, especially with social media. Like they see these other beast dancers with high production value, like and the cameraman and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like how do you deal with the comparison trap?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I fall into it constantly, all the time. I'm always comparing myself, and I keep trying to tell myself not to. There's one thing to grow from comparison, and there's one thing to just self-loathe from comparison. Um,
Mm,
so it's really about just figuring out what you can actually take from another person and learn, rather than bash on yourself or bash on the other person for comparing yourself.
mm,
Um, I try to look at dance videos for inspiration and less for like, oh, I don't do this right and they're doing it right.
mm.
Rather than just like, oh, maybe I should move my foot like them kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, try and
For
learn rather than.
Yeah, because it's like I agree because it's easy to be like, oh, you look at them like, oh, I suck, or like, oh, what can I kind of extract the lessons?
Mhm.
Because it's easy. I love how you just put it so well in terms of like
Thank
for
you.
learning and then loathing because it's easy because it's similar in what I call I think the replay. Like it's not so much comparison trap, but it's more like comparing what you did versus what you can be. Like
Yeah.
this is something I do when I felt triggered and I acted a certain way, and you do your best like for and in those moments. But what I often do when I find myself triggered, like much later, and I've calmed down, is I do a replay of like how like of the situation, and so most people replay the situation to self-loathe, like oh why the fuck did I do that? I should have said this and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
like I do it and replay it similar to how athletes review game tape.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, I did this, I said this, like, and I know I could do better. So what can I do next time? And
Mhm.
then obviously the hard part is acting on it when you're triggered, because it's so like when you're triggered, people go like into the natural tendencies of not serving them. But yeah, that's kind of like that comparison in
Yeah.
regards to the comparison trap. What are your thoughts on social media since now it's such a huge thing for our industry or to be like to get booked? I know people who don't have agents but have a huge following and they get booked because of it. And like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on social media and some of these dancers? I'm not gonna go into it, but anyways, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, because I learned from Bliss ever since I started coming into it, he's very community/industry.
Yeah, he is.
He was definitely pushing us into the industry position, and so I kind of got to learn a lot from that. And social media was always just like a portfolio or a dance reel. It was always like you have to post about yourself, you have to post only complimenting things, you have to make yourself look marketable on your profile.
Mm,
And it's been difficult because I'd love to just use my social media and just, you know, for myself, but at the same time, it's important for me to use it as a way to get myself kind of out there. And I guess now it's like even the community is using social media so importantly because that's all we got now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've honestly been considering all the topics, everything happening. I still feel like, for me at least, it would be out of bad taste to start self-promoting right now, since just because BLM isn't trending anymore doesn't mean it's not important. So I still feel like that still needs to be amplified. So if anything, I don't know if you've seen it on my stuff or the temper tantrum stuff. I've been sharing the voting video that I filmed this year. I mean, whether you guys believe in voting or not, it's literally one of the few ways to shoot your shot and making a difference aside from protesting. Like, you cast your vote, and I'd much rather shoot my shot and lose and then did not do anything and lose.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Are you voting this year?
Oh yeah, gotta.
You talked a little bit about how your choreography process, and I was kind of like curious, like, because you talked about like you see people in groups. Like, what's your thought process of the song, how you start envisioning it, and then how you start putting movement to it?
Well, music has always gotten me. It's always, captured me with its lyrics, with the melody, with the person singing. I never really used to pay attention to music for beats or for sounds kind of thing. I really just pay attention to it for the lyrics.
Yeah.
So it's been a little difficult really trying to pinpoint certain beats and try and hit that like a dancer rather than moving with it like the song lyrics. So I'm kind of trying to work through that, but also at the same time kind of utilize it, because I think it'd be pretty cool if it was like a competition worthy piece done solely like on the song lyrics, rather than like all the backbeats or crazy remixes and stuff like that.
That's what you usually see in competitions now.
That's usually what I see. Yeah, I mean, like, they'll definitely have some moments like on the lyrics for sure, but most of the time I feel like it's
everyone's trying to hit a crazy beat.
Yeah, the snares, all that, the claps, whatever else in the background. But I usually just hear lyrics. I'm just trying to make everything more interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. I think it was similar, except the beats back then weren't as fast as they are now.
Yeah. So, it's even harder.
Yeah, it's crazy. I tried learning one of my friends' choreography. It's like I stopped because the amount of like weight shifting with your upper body fucked with my back. Do you have a what do you call it, a nickname? Like a there's like my nickname is Almond Joy. Do you have one?
No, not really.
Okay.
People joke around and call me Jam and Jamie, but I mean, not really.
Jam and Jamie? That's a sick locker name, to be honest.
I think it's real cute. I think it's funny.
I think it would, like, if you go into a locking competition with Jam and Jamie, I was like, yeah. I think it would be sick. Like, I've only entered, I think, once as Almond Joy. I think it's because I was too lazy to tell someone to spell out my name, so just like Almond Joy. And I got it because whenever I freestyle, I make like stupid faces. So someone was like, Almond Joy Roy, and I remember seeing one of my friends like on the stage, saying that, and then that's where I was dubbed. Like, one of my, I guess, OG friends, he was like, yeah, that's it, that's your name, Almond Joy Roy forever. The thing is, I hate almond joys.
Oh.
That's the thing. But what do you envision yourself with dance?
Dance basically just has been there to make me happy, and now what I want out of it is I want to inspire people the way that I was inspired, back in high school. But I don't want to just inspire like little high school kids like at a homecoming dance. I want to inspire big amounts of people. I want to feel the adrenaline of being up there on the stage, and it brings something out of me. I don't know. I'm a whole different person.
Yeah, it's a high that's a good kind of addiction.
Yeah.
That's kind of like one of the reasons I love performing. Like, it's because there's the risk in a sense, like if you fuck up in the choreography, people will see you.
you are done.
And then at the same time, like it's the joy of like people screaming, and then then realizing moment after moment you're not fucking up. Like, oh, I didn't fuck this up.
Like, oh, I look
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Have you? I for a while I got bored at performing doing choreography. Like, I still sometimes experience this when I do choreography, where I mean you might feel different because you're just young in the game, but I got to a point where like I would literally I would literally be thinking out loud when I'm performing. Like, fuck, I'm bored right now, and I just start yelling stupid shit. Like, have you experienced that, or have you experienced? I'm just gonna draw it back from my experience. Have you ever experienced a moment where like everything feels slow when you're performing?
Yeah, but that's always when I started hitting the wall of like, am I actually doing my best? And it was like,
Mm.
it hit the wall, and I was like, no, I'm not doing good. I need to do better. This isn't going good. And then I'm like, oh no. And I start
Push
paying
it.
attention. And I'm like, I
Start
can't
getting
breathe
in your
anymore.
head.
I
Start
lost all the breathing.
having a panic attack on stage. Oh my god.
That's it. Like, no, everything's wrong.
Oh, you're a failure.
I can't tell you. That happens at least once every performance or competition piece where I'm like, nope, not going good. No,
Yeah.
fix it, fix it, fix it.
Competitions, like performing for competition is super different from just an exhibition performance, right? Because
Really?
like what goes through your mind versus like, or how do you feel competition versus exhibition performances?
I mean, either way, bottom line, both are fun. But exhibition, it's more like I'm doing this because I feel great. I can show the world I feel great, and I just have to go through it and dance. And then in competition, it's like hit everything perfect, look perfect, do everything perfect. Don't forget your face. Don't forget your hands. Don't forget your knees.
Don't forget your
Never a
eyeballs,
moment
or
to
else
just
or else
enjoy
you'll lose
it.
a point.
Yes. You have to look exactly in the right direction at the right time, or else everything is gonna go to shit.
Yeah.
It's it's hilarious to think about it in that way. But it also brings me back to, dance makes me happy, but it's also something I constantly want to just learn from and get better at. So
Yeah, and in competitions in general, even battles, like even there's a season that happens, but it's like these events happen don't happen a lot. It's like once a month or every other week or whatever, depending on what scene you're in. But it's like you practice for a small moment in time to see if you get it. And I don't know if you felt it. Fuck. I this one. I fucked up at Urban Street Jam in my own piece in locking. We start off with a jump, cut the knees into a knee drop. I fucked up, and then and it's those small moments that that kind of hold over until the next one until you get your redemption round. What
yeah.
have you had that? What happened with you?
It's it was kind of funny. It was one of the later competitions that I've been at. The first piece that I did, I feel like it just wasn't executed well. Like we just didn't get through any of it correctly, and not anyway as it was rehearsed. And it didn't feel good at all. So I kind of used the next piece that I was in to be like, I'm gonna do every single thing correct, so that I don't have to look back at it and be ashamed, kind of thing. I was like, luckily for me, I got the chance like a few hours later, rather than like looming over for a few months.
Yeah, dude. For me, I think it was from Urban Street Jam, I think in February. I could be wrong on my dates. This is back in 2012 or earlier. And then after that, I didn't get another chance until maybe March, April for World of Dance. And it was easier to get into World of Dance back then. Like,
yeah.
You didn't, because it started getting harder when they started involving the rest of the world, like in the sense of like they would have qualifiers. Like the best of this would end up being in World of Dance LA. Like I was able to do at least 3 World of Dances back in the day. So like, have you done any of the big not big, like international competitions, like Hip Hop International?
Unfortunately, no.
Do you want to do
Um,
it?
I would love to. I would love to. So, even if I don't feel like I'm gonna necessarily win the competition, I would love to go just to experience it. just
Dude,
just to just to feel it. Just to feel it. Feel the energy. Love
dude,
it.
like of all the competitions I've been to, I get excited, but at Hip Hop International, I was excited nauseous. I've never felt that. And then two of the members of Fanbiz at that time, like they yacked, and they've never actually yacked because they've said it like, "Oh, I'm gonna yak, I'm excited," but then they actually yacked right when we're on deck.
Oh god.
So and
I've
first
done that
time
before.
first time on that stage, it feels huge. I missed the stage. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Just talking about it, like like so even with City Walk, like even though it's not a big stage, it's still like the energy, just the feeling of being on it. Like, what do you miss about being on stage aside from the energy and the performing, just like the cop out answers?
What do I miss from performing? I miss working up to something and like putting my best gosh dang foot forward and being like, this is the best that I could do from whatever I was given. And then just also feeling like all of the release of all the tension for the past few months. Like, ah! I start screaming when I'm on stage sometimes. Or like in the backstage because I'm just like, finally it's over.
Do you have, before going on stage, do you have a pre-performance routine?
Kind of. I noticed that. Well, I don't. Well, once I actually threw up backstage, also
That's your
because I
part of
got
your
so
routine.
nervous. Yeah, it's part of the routine. So I decided I can't do all the jumping jacks everybody does, like to get their heart pumping, because mine will pump too much. Um,
So much that you yak.
exactly, like halfway into the performance, I'll be like, I'm not good anymore. But I do this thing where I'm on my toes and I bend my knees. It's what one of my first dance instructors taught me, and I like clasp my hands together really tightly. She said it was to find your center.
Wow.
Yeah, because when I get nervous, like it's like my feet are lifted off the floor, like I can't be stable on them. So it really helps me to center myself again.
That's cool. This is your first dance. That's so cool that it's like it made such an impact for you. It's become like a grounding tool, a tool of grounding. That's cool. Do you, when you perform, either before or after, do you feel like the tinglies, like like when your feet are numb or hands are numb? Do you feel that?
Yeah, my knees shake and I'm like, I can't be stable. Like I have to hold a position in the front. Like my knees are shaking.
Shit.
It's so hard sometimes. So I really like to wear baggy clothes when I perform because then you can't really see it.
Really?
Yeah.
I can imagine if if the costume calls for tight fitting clothing, like
Be
and
like,
you're
oh
doing a
god.
hold, you're like just shaking. That's one of the reasons I prefer being in the second line or in the back, because it's less pressure. And there's always like someone else I can watch from the side. I'm like, okay, they didn't fuck up. Or if I see someone fuck up, I'm like, how you fucked up?
So I can focus on them rather than myself.
Yeah, because when you're front center, I'm not a fan of it. I just do it because I think I lock better than everyone than in the group. So it's I guess the pressure of like there's no one watching. You have to make sure you're on count. And I have experienced this. This was when we were backup dance. I was backup dancing. We were in a line in a position in a way where we couldn't see each other, even though we were in a line, and somehow all the dancers got an 8 count ahead of the singer. So when she tried to do the choreo, she was like, "The fuck? You're an 8 count ahead." So, I mean, I guess there's really no excuse because if you're backup dancing, but like we also didn't have enough rehearsal time. But that's a cop out. We just sucked. That's cool. Yeah, my routine, my pre-workout routine seems aggressive. Like I don't like. when I am backstage, I'd say a minute or two before we perform, I stop talking to everyone. Like and I get into this really angry kind of look, and and you guys listen, if you guys are listening to this, you guys can't see my routine, but watch the video on our YouTube. As I do this, I hit both sides of my chest and I hit both sides of my head. I do that like boom, 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 and I do like a certain breathing ritual. I go. It's like to kind of like, I don't know. I've done that for a lot of performances, and if I noticed if I don't like, it psychs me up, and I think I'm also using my anger as energy, like because I'm not trying to be like dance with an angry face the whole time, but I'm like trying to summon that kind of energy, because I've noticed that if I don't kind of like find my pattern, or it's like me letting go of like the negative vibes, like. But I've also noticed like, if I don't breathe properly when I'm dancing, I'm like, I don't know if you've ever done that. Like you're like so excited when you're dancing, you just stop breathing. Like
Yeah. Like, oh, jeez.
yeah, that's one of the reasons I kind of like that's fucked me up. And I noticed like if I don't like make my body aware of this routine of breathing, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely have to remind myself a lot. But it sounds like you're like waking up the energetic body inside of you. It's interesting.
Yeah, because I don't know. I think I was inspired by Manny Pacquiao when he did it, but I'm also like, for some reason, I get like in a really hyper competitive state of mind, even though I'm not competing with anyone aside from like, because I haven't competed in forever. But it's just like I want to fucking rip the audience's face off right now with this dope ass performance. They better like my dancing, because I'm I don't know. I just feel like everyone's like, I don't know. I get this competitive focused zone of like, let's fucking kill this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I got you.
it could be just too much testosterone.
Maybe.
Oh, I like doing hypotheticals. Like, I'm probably going to be doing this with everyone. So if I haven't interviewed you yet, anyone who's listening from Temper Tantrum, you'll get some fun questions too. 30 years down the road, like this is like, oh, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? So 30 years down the road, what do you see yourself as in relation to dance?
In relation to dance.
Yeah, anything's possible,
I can only hope that I'm still moving like that, like this at that point.
Well, you're 22. You're only 52.
Yeah, I know, but like,
I'll be retired, 60.
I don't know how my knees will be then.
My knees.
My back. My knees. No, I definitely don't plan to stop at any point, for one. I hope that it still has such a prevalent force in my life that I'm doing it consistently enough that, I don't really have so many negative repercussions that I would if I like were to sit down and stop and just let my body sit like that for a while. I really hope to be not a figure so much that people can like learn technical information from or historical information from necessarily or anything like that, but just kind of realize what they could do with themselves from what I did with myself, kind of thing.
Yeah. What kind of body of work do you imagine leaving by then?
What do you mean?
Like by the time I'm 60, just to play hypotheticals on my end, by the time I'm 60, I would like to have made an impact through people with my online courses. By the time I'm 60, I would like to have seen Temper Tantrum be a viable way of people making money off their passions. Mm-hmm. Like we have 30 company members. We're working with a lot of brands and creating content for them. We're doing shows, but we did shows like almost like you're speaking past tense, that mm-hmm. like that had already happened.
Gotcha. Good question. I hope personally that people can look at something that I produce and are able to be like, yeah, that's Jamie's. Like that's her art. That's her piece. I hope that I could bring some.
Everything's in the realm of possibility, so there's no right or wrong at this point. So it's just for fun.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I haven't thought about it in that way before. what I hope that I can leave is another way for people to learn without feeling judged, I guess. Because, no matter what everybody does, it kind of still feels like some people are judging you no matter where you are. Like, even if you're in the industry, of course, even if you're in the community, even if you're not in either of them, you're just doing your own thing. I hope to bring, peace of mind so that people aren't going to look at you and automatically tell you what you're going to do wrong. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but eventually.
Yeah. That sounds like that's the saying, I don't know how I'm going to do that, is always the first step, the first thing people say before they create something. Like, I don't know how I'm going to start this company, but fuck it. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. Since we're like doing future projections, what do you think because you did 20 to 16-year-old, 22 to 16-year-old, what do you think your 60-year-old self will say to you?
To just fucking do it. Just don't stop being a bitch. Just do it. It's like, God. Don't be a bitch.
Don't be a bitch. Just do it, bro.
Just fucking do it. The only person stopping you is you.
Okay, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. This is called The 3 Truths from the Lewis House podcast, School of Greatness. Make sure you guys go listen to them. This is not a sponsored ad or for the Lewis House podcast. It's just a sick question that I like asking people. So you're 80 years old or 60, and every single piece of body of work you've made is gone, no longer exists. You're on your deathbed, and you can only write down like 3 pieces of advice to help people be successful. What would that be?
The first one is always love each other. Love each other, love yourself, and don't be afraid to fuck up.
Ooh, nice. Ooh, simple, to the point.
Yeah.
Cool. And last question, because I think a lot about legacy. I think a lot about what people will say about me when I'm gone. And what do you want people to say about you when you're gone?
I want people to say that even though I didn't always look like I was trying, it paid off in the end.
Cool. So that is it. Where can people find you online to stalk you? And
all my stuff is under Curly Q, CERLYQ.
Wait, how did you come up with that username, by the way?
Because my hair is so curly, so I was like, Curly Q, but then like the actual CU or whatever was taken, so I was like, I'll put an E.
Oh, that makes sense. I was like Curly Q. I get the curly part, but I never got the Q part. Got it. So everything we mentioned. Oh, actually, one last thing. You want to share any last thing to the audience?
Love each other.
Okay, so that is it, ladies and gentlemen. If everything we talked about, links are in the description. Jamie, I appreciate you being down for video. I know you weren't looking for it. You didn't want to do the video today, but this is going to be huge because people can see everything we're talking about and they can connect with you in a more personal level, aside from just like hearing it, but they can see us and kind of interact. So everything we mentioned is in the description down below, links down below. Give her a follow, give Temper Tantrum a follow, and that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Throwing Tantrums. We appreciate you guys. Be safe, go vote, do your part, and love each other, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace. Cool.